Hello and welcome to the Trash Talk Podcast. I'm your host, and we have Sergej.
Hello.
Today, it's finally time. We're gonna talk about the Minecraft Modpack. This is something that we've had on our topic list for a while, and the main reason why we haven't done it yet is because, well, we also said the videos were gonna come out for a while.
We're fucking lazy.
And
Yep.
procrastination, for the most part, is what kept us from doing that. And I mean, to be fair, I have some legitimate excuses, but not enough to actually cover the whole time. Anyways, point is, the first episode of my Minecraft series is out now, as of yesterday, and that means that I said I was going to talk about the Modpack, and now we're going to talk about the Modpack.
Ooh, nice.
It's called Synergy. It's brand synergy, you know? We're having the podcast, we have a gaming series, let's talk about the gaming series on the podcast. I think that's how that works. No, but I genuinely...
Probably, maybe. I don't know.
I genuinely wanted to talk about, why we decided to build a Modpack the way we did. And I also didn't want to, waste an entire episode of the actual series on it. Because there's always, stuff to be actually said about the gameplay itself.
Mm-hmm.
So... while I did go a little bit into some of the mods that were in there in the first episode, as is tradition, which is to say, I stole the idea from Dow of Toddy, of course. Then the actual discussion of how we built the pack, I think is something that we're gonna cover right here, right now. Have I ever taken that long to intro a topic? Because that felt very long-winded for explaining a very basic concept.
I actually have no idea. Didn't feel that long, but I don't know.
Do you want to start? Should I start?
I'll let you start because I actually don't really remember how we did the Modpack.
I was just about to say,
I feel like
we would have had a lot more to say about it if we had actually recorded this right after we'd made the Modpack. I mean, to be fair, in fairness, we could have probably just right after we recorded the first episode, just recorded this podcast and then just, kept it until we were actually, to the point where the video gets released. But... That's fine, because it's now too late. So the first thing, I think, is... and you know this, if I took notes, So again, we actually have bullet points here. And the first point is... picking a Minecraft version. I mean, it's not that in-depth, okay? But we do technically have bullet points. First one is picking a Minecraft version, and I think it's a good point to start, right? We're playing 1.16.5, which is... I was gonna say neither the newest nor the oldest.
That's the version we're playing.
It's not the newest version of Minecraft. It is not even the newest version that we can get Forge for, but it's also not necessarily the really old school 1.7.10, which was what we were initially gonna do, but then we tried that, and that was a whole other... can of worms.
I mean, we actually had a Modpack for that ready.
Mm-hmm.
We recorded a first episode, but we never actually did something with it.
I mean, it's a very similar situation in terms of procrastination.
Mostly because of bad planning,
but at least this one, it felt a little bit more organized what we did, so we actually had something to work with the footage. Now, we could have, of course, and we did at one point discuss the option of just resetting the server and just re-recording a first episode with the 1.7 Modpack. And basically the main versions to consider would have been, at the time when we made this, 1.7, 1.12, 1.16, and 1.17. I think 1.18 was ever so barely not out yet. And 1.17 Forge, I think, had just released. So it's either Fabric 1.17, which we actually had a server that we played for a while, but there just weren't that many mods, especially in the categories that we usually play with. Forge 1.7 had a very similar issue because it was still very new at the time. So, kind of remove 1.17. And then that kind of leaves us with 1.7, which is probably the version that we both played the most. 1.12, which feels like a weird compromise, and 1.16, which is actually the sort of the newest major modded version. And...
Wait, 1.12 is before the Ocean update, right?
Yes, I think so. That is one of the big reasons, I think, why we actually ended up going with 1.16, because we had the 1.17 server, as I said, that we just played with. We never intending to record it, but just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some features on there that we really liked that we wanted to bring into the series. One of the ones being the swimming mechanics, another one being the Nether update, I think. But that kind of necessitated that we play 1.16, basically. I mean, the Nether update for sure. Also, if we are going to want some of the newer features, we might as well go as new as we can without having to compromise too much on the mod selection.
Yep. Because why do something through mods if you can just do it natively?
Yeah. And, of course, the Forge Fabric thing is very simply just the list of mods that's available for Forge. I don't technically have a bias as it pertains to, mod loaders, but it's just going to be the one that has all the mods that I want. Or at least that has more mods that I want than the other one.
I do actually have a bias, and it's towards Fabric. But yeah, Forge just has more mods.
Fabric is more lightweight, but Forge has better features. I do have arguments for both of them. Listen, right? If we had to play with ModLoader MP, I would do that as well. I literally do not care. I know, old school reference. See, back in the day, you wouldn't have to decide between Fabric and Forge. Back in the day, you would decide between ModLoader MP and Forge, because they were also not compatible at the time. And that was a thing. Also around the 1.7 days, and I'm, of course, talking about Beta 1.7. I think also a bit after that, but like Beta 1.7 is like one of the other versions that I've played for like a really long time. So it's like Beta 1.7 and then like, I don't know, like release 1.4 or something, and then 1.7 more or less. I mean, it's not that I skipped every version, but like somewhere around there is when I played the most, and then I didn't play for a while. I played 1.12 like at one point. I played a bit of 1.16, bit of 1.17. 1.16 is what we settled on. 1.16.5, of course, being the newest 1.16 version. That's kind of a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
Design philosophy. What did we want to get out of this pack, Sergej?
Fun, mostly, I guess.
So, I guess it's one of those things that I also thought about a little bit more, because technically this is, as per usual, based on the pack that I first built for myself and then we then expanded into being a server pack. So, one of the things that when I first built that particular pack, was thinking is that, I mean, for one, it's a new version, and for another, like, I just wanted something new. First of all, I was looking at a lot of the sort of like mod spotlights and like top 10 mods that do this and that, sort of videos for a while on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw like a lot of smaller mods that I thought were kind of cool. And so while I did certainly want to have a lot of the tech mods that I'm used to some degree, I did also want to have some new elements in there that I never had played with before. So that is where we both get some of the very small mods, like that one that has like carts that you can put on your horses and whatnot. I think that's what it is, right? That's how those carts work? There was something about carts.
I don't know.
I should probably have opened the...
Faintly remember seeing some mod with carts, but I don't actually know if it's from this mod pack or a different one I saw.
Let's see. TTV
or just a mod in general that I saw at some point.
I think it's transport. And like stuff like that where it's like, oh yeah, this is like a random little mod. There's no good reason to have this really, but it seemed cool. And so there's like some of those mods, and then it's some of the big tech mods, because those are kind of like the staple of what I usually build packs around. And then magic mods as well, of course. I kind of sometimes, when I say tech mods, I sometimes include magic mods mentally in that already. One big one that I thought was really cool, which I saw in the Darwell Sony video, was Astral Sorcery. Such a cool mod. And it kind of compensates for the fact that we don't have Thaumcraft, which is sad. But hey.
Man, I like Thaumcraft so much. I will miss it.
Yeah. The Thaumcraft is a bit of a weird case in general, because even when it updates, it's usually like, oh, this is not the Thaumcraft I know. and it's like, this is weird. And then you play it for a while, and you're like, oh my god, this is so good. I remember playing the what is it, Thaumcraft 4, the 1.7 one, right? I remember playing that first and be like,
Thaumcraft 4.
They changed so much. What the fuck is this even? Right, because I had already played older versions. I think the first Thaumcraft might have been Thaumcraft 2 or something. Like, I've played Thaumcraft 2, 3, and 4. And then, like, a very small amount of 5 at some point, I think, because that's, like, the 1.12 version, but I barely play 1.12. But, like, so, I've played a lot of versions of Thaumcraft. And every time a new one comes out, I'm also like, I don't know about this, I don't know about that. Like, there's usually some cool things about it, but it's also, like, something that I'm a bit less optimistic about until you actually, like, play with them and you're like, actually, this is kind of cool. Long way of saying, in a way, Astral Sorcery is kind of like a new version of Thaumcraft in that regard, where it's like, it's not the same as having Thaumcraft installed, but it is kind of cool.
Yeah. Personally, I don't really see a good, like, practical use for Astral Sorcery right now, at least. But to be fair, I have not really looked too much into the mod.
I mean, there's a couple of things, right? Like, the tools are kind of good, though there are also other mods that add, like, similarly comparable tools. I think the leveling system, once you've, like, infused yourself, is, like, you can't really argue with that. It's just good, because it just gives you perks.
Okay.
It doesn't really
Still have to look at that, then.
That's, like, I think it's, like, in the third tier or so of, like, the actual, like, research tree. But, once you, like, get the whole thing built up, then you can infuse yourself with a constellation that has, like, this, like, RPG-like, like, talent tree thing, which is really interesting in how that's built. And then depending on what you infuse yourself with also depends on how you level. So it's based on either, like, breaking blocks, walking, building. I think building is in there, and, you know, like, killing things, taking damage.
Actually, sounds pretty cool. Yep.
Is building in there? It's.
We'll definitely have to take a much deeper look into that.
Astral Sorcery is a really cool mod. Also,
previously had.
Even finding all the constellations is really cool, because one of my favorite things that Astral Sorcery does, which is, like, doesn't really add anything to the game in, like, a gameplay sense, but, like, once you've discovered a constellation, it'll show up in the night sky. And you'll just see it in the sky. And it's, like, the coolest thing, because it's, like, such a visual indication of your progress. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Dude. I mean, Astral Sorcery is also one of the arguments I would make for, like, just playing a newer version, because 1.7 just doesn't have Astral Sorcery. And one problem that I always have with making my Modpacks is I can never have all the mods that I want. Because it turns out there's never a version of Minecraft that has all of the mods that I want. As a matter of fact, I wanted the Ether mod. Turns out, it does actually exist for 1.16. Just not for 1.16.
Oh, wait, it does? Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
There's, like, 1.12? I think it actually goes up to 1.14, the Forge version. And then the Fabric version goes up to 1.17, or possibly even 1.18 at this point. But, like, there just isn't a Forge 1.16 version. There's a Forge version, there's a 1.16 version, there's just not a Forge 1.16 version. Which, I mean, I found a lot of other cool dimension mods that are in there, and chances are I'm not going to explore every dimension that we have, which is something that I'm always guilty of, but we have Twilight Forest, which is the classic, we have the Undergarden, we have the Abyss, we have Blue Skies, which adds 2 dimensions, and I think we had a bunch of others, actually, because, we had Atom, which...
Could have. Yeah.
Atom is a weird mod to me, because I remember, like, having seen that, like, way back when, like, in the 1.7 days, and thinking, like, oh, this is really cool, and I've installed it in every single mod pack I've made, basically, since, and I don't think I've ever actually gone there, outside of maybe, like, trying it out in creative, like, once. So, it's a mod that I've always played with, but never actually used, which is really weird.
It is. So what I'm hearing is you will gonna explore Atom as the first dimension. I mean, apart from the usual 3.
I can't guarantee it, but I might.
The vanilla ones.
I mean, there's always the very tempting thing of just going to the Twilight Forest very quickly because you just need 1 diamond to get there. And, just throw a diamond in the pool, you can get there. Mining there is really cool because you're always at a relatively low Y level, so you see like a cave from the surface and there's like just all the good resources there, by the way. And also, the boss progression in the Twilight Forest is really cool, which I think I've done like exactly once. And not even all the way through, I think I stopped somewhere, but for the longest time I didn't really know how the Twilight Forest worked. I knew it was a cool dimension, I knew there were bosses in it, but like outside of
I still don't.
Outside of the Naga, I think, which is the first one, I never actually really did too much with the bosses. So, the way it works is, whenever you kill one of the bosses, I think whenever you unlock the advancement, for that, I think then you can fight the next one. So, do you know how the Lich Towers, for example, they're always very visible? Like how you can't break anything in there, you can't even get in there?
Yeah.
And I think once you've killed the Naga, or it might have been one after that, you can actually get in there. Like, the blocks are breakable now. You can just go in there, and you can actually fight the thing.
Yeah, I remember I once got stuck in there because I managed to get in there, even though I wasn't supposed to.
I don't know if there's technically a way to get out of it. I was gonna say in vanilla, but since there are walkways, as long as you can like somehow jump at least 1.5 blocks high, in some way, shape, or form, ender pearls, I suppose. Like you can always get out there technically.
Yeah.
Again, I think they're fenced, so I think you have to be able to at least get over a fence. But as soon as you can do that, it's kind of fine. Like if you have like a double jump from something, or you have some limited flight.
Then it might have been a different kind of tower, because I remember there not being any open spaces to get in.
I think we're getting a bit off point.
I don't know. Yeah.
So we kind of talked about some very basics, right? I mentioned dimensions, which I just generally think are cool. We kind of mentioned tech and magic, and we kind of mentioned like a lot of the smaller mods. One other thing that I always like to add to packs, because I've played a lot of the traditional, like, your Technic packs and, well, Tech Kit, I suppose, mostly. Tech Kit and Feed the Beast and Direwolf 20 and, those sort of things. What they almost always lack, in my opinion, is something like cool dungeons. I mean, dimensions to some degree as well, they usually just have Twilight Forest and then none of the others, which it seems kind of arbitrary. Someone at some point apparently decided that Twilight Forest is going to be the tech mod pack dimension mod, despite the fact that it actually is not even like the most fitting for tech mods.
Yeah.
I think it's just because Direwolf played with it.
Kind of weird, to be honest.
He's like a really strong influence on the community. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's something like that. But anyway, so dimensions and dungeon mods, and generally like structures, was something that was kind of important to me always. Sergej, of course, wanted some decoration mods. I don't know if you have anything in particular to say about those.
Oh yeah. I not really. Just have more blocks to build cool stuff with.
Yeah. And
also big on exploration. So, but you did that part of the mod pack, which is all the world gen.
I added most of the world gen. Noteworthy in terms of world gen is that I added a bunch of mods that add biomes to them, to Minecraft. Like for example, Autumnity and Bio Blues. I think a lot of those are by the same person as well. But a lot of those like mods that add like 1 or 2 biomes, and because I found a lot of those that were really cool, and then some that also like improve vanilla biomes, and some mods already add biomes like integrated dynamics, for example. I decided specifically, and this is the last bullet point I have on my list, which I had open, there it is, why certain mods were omitted. And one big mod I intentionally omitted is Biomes of Plenty. Or the Biomes You'll Go, or back in the day used to be Extra Biomes XL, but like, I didn't want like a huge biome pack in there. Because a lot of the cool smaller mods that we had for biomes just can't really shine in that environment, because it's going to take forever to even find one of those biomes. Not to mention that some world gen mods, at least back in the day, I don't know if that's still a problem, are sometimes a bit iffy with spawning things in non-vanilla biomes. And so it could also be that some of the dungeons, for example, that we have in there, might not spawn in non-vanilla biomes. I think these days most mods are pretty good with that, but with having still, even with all the biome mods, probably fewer biomes than just adding biomes for plenty, puts us in a position where we also will see more vanilla biomes, and in the process, we'll make sure that we get a lot of structures as well. Though we did make all the structures a bit rarer than by default, because A, they seem pretty common.
A lot rarer.
And B, having 3 or 4 mods that add structures, when I feel like all of those are made with the assumption that they're the only one of their kind that is in there, makes the world unnecessarily crowded. And so we turned a lot of that down.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of mods kind of assume that you're not playing other mods alongside them. Tech mods have gotten pretty good at...
Just kind of weird.
Yeah. I guess the idea is also no other mods of the kind, as I said earlier, right? So even if you do make a dungeon mod pack, mod, if like someone throws it in a tech mod pack, it doesn't really change that much. It still is as if you were just running the one. Same with like mob mods and stuff. If you throw like one mod of every kind in there, it still works with those assumptions. Tech mods, I think, are a big exception. They're oftentimes specifically built to be compatible with one another, and a lot of mods actually went the extra way of, or some mods at least went the extra way of, by default, disabling certain ores if they detect another mod that adds them. Most commonly, tin and copper being those 2 ores. Though we did have to tinker around with that a lot as well. But I'm so used to having to disable like 10 types of copper from a mod pack that it's not even worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Right, so that's one mod that we omitted. I think there's 2 other mods that I can think of right now that are pretty big that we omitted. Unless you want to mention something first. Because I have been talking for a while.
Like, I mean, one being Ender AO, but mostly because it's just not available in the version we're playing.
I'm not 100% sure if it is now, but it definitely wasn't when we built the pack initially.
I don't think they... Like, from what I read last time, I looked it up, is that they didn't want to release for 1.16. Because they predicted that 1.18... Yeah, that 1.18 would be the next big mod version. I wonder if they have already released a 1.18 version.
It would currently appear, let's see, view all versions. Nope, 1.12 is still the newest. I think Forestry actually released like a day before we finalized the pack or something, and we didn't end up including it. Because...
Oh, okay. I was not aware of that.
I mean, I think it like released like right as we were finishing it. It was like right around the time when we finished the pack, and I just figured, let's not try to take our chances. But I think I think it actually might have been after we finalized the pack, but before we recorded the first episode or something. So now I was like, you know what?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It works now. Let's not mess with this already. Like, we might update the pack at some point during the playthrough, but like, let's not mess with it right when we figured everything out. Because one thing that we definitely want to minimize is technical difficulties, which we still ended up having a couple.
We did actually ran into when I wanted to update like all the mods right before we actually started the series.
Yeah.
We ended up having some issue with, I don't actually remember which mods it were.
It was
that caused problems
with the recipe unlock. I remember that being the case.
Does it work?
Quark has an automatic recipe book unlock where it unlocks all the recipes in the recipe book.
I was talking about like some collection of, I think it was tech mods that caused some weird glitches.
Oh, I know, and also we had to downgrade
long.
thermal expansion because all the thermal mods.
Yes, that was it.
Which I think had multiple issues actually. I think one of them was that NEI wasn't loading properly, or I'm sorry, JEI wasn't loading properly. I think is what it is. There is like decidedly too much of those.
Yeah.
I always know not to confuse it with TMI because NEI was just so much better. So too many items, not enough items, just enough items, roughly enough items are of course the mods that we're talking about. Because TMI used to always just have the cheating capabilities, but it never had the built-in recipe book. And NEI was the first one to combine the TMI-like interface with the recipe book, which was huge. That was such a game changer.
It was so good.
Because I used to actually at times run a recipe book mod. But then it would sometimes be like a literal book, and you'd have just a list of recipes, and you have to actually flip through them, and it's like...
That was so annoying.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And so that is something that is really good that we don't have to deal with anymore. So
that was the first issue, and the second one was that whenever you interacted with an inventory, whether it was crafting or putting stuff into or out of a chest,
I think it was shift-clicking specifically.
Delay so much. Right, yes, it was only if you shift-click. If you just normal click and drag the items, it worked fine.
But it's like
shift
really
click, it would just take forever. Yeah.
So yeah, we had some issues with that. We had to downgrade those. I don't know if by now they would work, but again, we're probably gonna update and possibly upgrade the pack at some point. But for now, I'm just happy that what we have works. Although there is still the thing with that one weird bar that is above the hunger bar.
Oh yeah.
If someone
I still don't know what it is.
It disappears when you're in water for some reason. I think I think it disappears when you're underwater, possibly because of the air bubbles might also be in the exact same spot. I'm not 100% sure.
I think they are. I don't know.
Point being, so we had to fiddle around with the pack a little bit. Why certain mods were omitted, right? So I did talk about Bombs of Plenty, but I have two more mods that I want to mention. One of which I'm not 100% sure if that's even out for 1.16 because I don't think I ever checked. Pam's Harvest Craft.
Oh. Actually, why did you omit that?
Okay, so it's a mod that I kind of like, but also it has this huge selection of food items that you can make, when realistically you're only going to end up making one or two of them and just eat that all the time. And I found that I just found it was kind of unnecessary when I think we have Growthcraft, which is a mod that I've seen in a lot of packs over time as well. Do we not have Growthcraft? Was that not available for this version? I thought we had. Anyways, I think we have some mods that add additional food options as well. I think we have Farmer's Delight, actually. That might have been what I was thinking of. Growthcraft used to be in older versions for sure, but we have Farmer's Delight, which I think actually does some of the similar things, which might be what I was thinking that. But we have mods that add food options, and I feel like once Pam's comes into play, you're very easily like, oh yeah, I just make some stock or some shit. I used to sometimes literally just carry a frying pan around, I think is what it was, and then you could combine it with bones to make stock, which is a reasonably good food item. And I think you get 3 of them from one bone, and they get you 2 bars or some shit, and skeletons are everywhere.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So I didn't have to worry about food at all. And so I figured also pumpkins I think were also really good for that. The exact same reason. And also you can make pumpkin soup, I think, which is also really good. Anyways, there's a couple items in Pam's that now it just said. And I was like, you know what, that's a bit silly. And I get that Pam's is a cool mod, but I figured it also is somewhat redundant, as I said, with having other cool farming mods. And it does feel sometimes a little bit powerful. So that combination is why I was like, you know what? Similar ideas with Bombs of Plenty, right? I don't need one food mod with a million options if I can have 1 or 2 smaller mods that, Farmer's Delight. Seems like a really cool mod. Let's play with that.
Yeah.
Other big mod that we omitted, and I think you are much more aware of that one because I think we actually talked about that. Industrial Craft. Industrial Craft.
I vaguely remember.
2, to be precise. I sometimes feel like I'm the only person who
remembers the original. Is that even still a thing?
What?
Is Industrial Craft 2 actually still a thing for 1.16?
I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. Let's do this the proper way. Industrial craft squared. Oh, wait, did I? Whoops. Didn't mean to do that.
Ooh.
I don't... Oh, I know why that happened. See, I was being fancy and I did the squared thing.
The what thing?
Squared, like to the power of 2. Because that's how they
write
it.
Yeah.
And because Alt 2 is what I use to switch the scenes, and Alt Graph 2 is what you do to actually type it. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, it's not too bad. Like, I usually don't like just randomly showing the browser window, like, unless I'm like, full screen on the exact side I want to be on. But also, like, who cares? Like, it's just a search. It does also seem to be just 1.12.
Yeah. Yep.
I might have been thinking of Tech Reborn, which is...
It does
strongly based on...
seem that way.
On... wait, is this packs? Why is the default look packs? I guess most users would use packs, huh? ChrisForge? Tech Reborn? I think it's 2 words? I'm gonna go with 2 words. ChrisForge is very particular with how he spells things. Tech Reborn is available for, I think, even 1.17, if I remember correctly. 1.18, 1.17, 1.16, yeah. Which is also, like, very Industrial Craft-like. As a matter of fact, I think it partially reproduces it. What I'm getting at is, I didn't want to have an alternate power system, and I think Tech Reborn technically works on RF. And again, I thought Industrial Craft was updated. Point being, I wanted to keep everything on, well, technically it's, I think, Forge Energy, not RF. And I think technically we have mods that do both. But also, I think they're, like, interchangeable. So,
wasn't even aware that Forge Energy existed.
It's a part of Forge, naturally. That is just supposed to be in a shared energy framework with the idea that mods don't have to make their own version, but I think RF still exists. Which kind of defies the whole purpose, because that used to be the standardized system that everyone was using. I'm not 100% sure on that, but pretty much all the machines that we have plug into one another. And that was something that I did want to have.
That's good.
Because it kind of always annoyed me when we had packs where it was like, oh yeah, here's my my Industrial Craft machines, and here's my, all of my other machines, basically, because Industrial Craft was like one of the big ones that had a different power system. And I'm pretty sure we have everything down to one power system now. And
that's good.
Is really that. I mean, there used to be power converters. I remember one in particular, which was, I think, Power Crystals power converters. And it's like, those were really easy because you just literally just plug it in between. Like, it's just, you plug it in between 2 cables and it just runs through and it's fine. And that's okay, but also at that point, it feels even weirder, right? Because it almost feels like cheesing it. So I wanted to keep it kind of simple, while there is still a lot of times where you have multiple ways of doing one thing. I didn't necessarily want to have 2 completely different power systems. I think we also... Yeah. We also didn't include extreme reactors. Formerly big reactors. I actually don't know if it's rather fine if it's actually
that
the
is
same
a big
mod,
one.
or just a remake of the mod. But that's one that definitely exists for 1.16, because I think I initially had it in a pack.
I don't know about that, but yeah. I feel like it's a bit too overpowered and way too simple to actually use.
Yeah.
And you usually just end up building one and kind of forgetting about it till like the end game, where you just make a bigger version of that and you're set.
Yeah, so what Sergej said, right?
Kind of wanted to avoid that.
It's a cool mod, but we'd have to really significantly nerf it to really make it make sense. And the thing is, once you start nerfing it, you might as well not have it, because it's really hard to nerf it to a point where you still want to make it, but also it's not just like build it once and forget about it.
Yep.
It's tricky. I think there are some settings that you can adjust that make it a little bit more like it, because I think there's stuff like active cooling, where instead of just having a cooling block in there, I think you have to actually pump a liquid in. And then it's like a bit more logistically complicated. Or was it just for the... Doesn't matter. You can make it a bit more complicated.
I don't know.
I think you can also disable being able to draw power from generators and having to use their turbines in the steam system. But it all still seems like very much like it's just very big numbers, and either you nerf it and don't end up using it, or you don't nerf it and it's OP.
Yeah.
I think we didn't actually have that many other major emissions, and it turns out like half the emissions weren't even available from 1.16. So that's part of the thing though. When I'm like figuring out what mods I want to use, if I'm like, oh, don't want to use that mod, I don't even check if it's out, because why would I?
Yeah. True.
Yeah, I guess.
Why waste the time to search it up if you're not going to use it anyway?
The big design philosophy points that I wanted to hammer home, and I think we should probably come to an end with this topic because we've been going for a while now. Is A, have it be fun. B, have a wide variety of mods. As in, adventure, exploration, which I guess is the same thing. Mobs, equipment, magic, tech. And I think one of the points that I wanted to hammer home, which is I think also what I was trying to say with a lot of the emissions, is like just have a reason for why you're including a mod. Just don't just throw in a mod because it's cool and I might want to play with it. It's a perfectly valid reason, but just a lot of packs have this, so let's just throw it in. Is not a good reason, for example.
Yeah.
And then also, there's a thing where there are some mods that I used to put in packs. Like, I kind of mentioned with Aiden, but I genuinely want to go there, so, like, But, like, sometimes I would put mods in packs and then not use them. And I would keep doing that, and so eventually I would just be like, you know what, let's just not include it anymore. And that's also part of what goes into this. For a while there, I actually didn't include iron chests into my personal mod packs anymore, because I would always put them in, because they're very useful, but then I would be, like, too cheap to actually make them. Because it's like, oh...
Wait, what? Really?
I mean, yeah, I can just make double chests.
Like, you have gold chests and, like, obsidian chests and diamond chests and whatever.
It's like...
massive amounts of storage.
I can make do with double chests until I have an AE system, at which point I'm not even using chests anymore. Like... It's...
Man.
I know you use iron chests, and I'm pretty sure we have iron chests because of that. But like, I probably would not have used them anyways, and that's why I don't oftentimes have them.
Fair.
But in this case, we have a lot of mods that at least one of us is going to use. One mod that we have in here that I'm not sure we're going to use, but I kind of want to use. So it's kind of in the vein is Create. Create is one of the coolest mods of this generation.
I will actually probably make use of that just for movable structures.
Yeah.
Like parts of structures. Like a drawbridge or like whatever.
Because Create is so awesome. But at the same time, it's so much easier to just set it up with like a drop-down machine, plug in an input, plug in the output, and be done with it, rather than, set up all of the actual like conveyor belts and individual processes. Yeah.
I will most likely not use it for actual production or like generation of stuff, but like mostly for building purposes.
I'll see.
To make stuff look cool.
I might do some
and
of it.
And be interactive.
There's two things to be said about why Create makes sense. One is that it's completely renewable energy. I think, well, actually, there is technically a furnace-based one, but for the most part, it's renewable energy. So you don't actually have to like throw in any, like, coal, lava, whatever you throw into your normal generators, uranium. So that's a cool thing, though. We do also have solar panels for RF, so
I mean, we now with this modpack being post 113, I think, is the ocean update. We do have kelp, which is renewable.
Yeah. I mean, trees are.
We can burn that. True, trees are. Yeah, kind of forgot about trees.
We all do sometimes. was gonna say something. Right. But yeah, so generally, the idea that it's not even based on like having an energy buffer though. It's that like the system is constantly like rotating at a certain speed. It has a lot of the cooler aspects of Better Than Wolves, but it's even cooler. I feel like it has like the cool things of Better Than Wolves and what like Red Power was planning to do right before it was shut down. And it also doesn't have any of the downside.
Don't fully remember what these mods were.
Red Power is
but I think the topic is
what Project Red is based on.
Yeah.
But it also was like just getting into having its own power system, like right before the mod maker stopped making it. And then Better Than Wolves was a really cool tech mod that existed like way back when, that eventually just stopped being updated. Or I think it's still being updated, but it does not have newer Minecraft versions. So they just eventually stopped going into newer versions. I think it was actually initially created for 1.7, which is the update in which wolves were introduced. And the whole point of Better Than Wolves is that every feature that it adds is supposed to be a better feature than wolves. Kind of the whole point being like Minecraft added wolves and that's silly. Which is like, I actually like the wolves, so like suck it, but also your
wolves are actually cool,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. And then for a while,
I just googled Better Than Wolves, and yeah, I definitely remember playing with that.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
And some of those elements feel like they're in Create. I think Create is more visually interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a slightly more solid system. And again, it's compatible with mods, which is really cool. Like, Better Than Wolves hasn't updated for a while, and now is literally incompatible with Forge. So...
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it's a mod that is incompatible with Forge. There was a version a while back, like around when it first became Forge incompatible, that was specifically made somewhat compatible so that you could play it specifically with Buildcraft. It was called Better Than Buildcraft. Then with an E in that case, not with an A, because it's not Better Than Buildcraft, it's because the idea is you have to then use Better Than Wolves to get into Buildcraft. It has a built-in progression. It also modifies Buildcraft. The idea there was that the dynamos that usually just needed a redstone signal would then be powered by like the actual Better Than Wolves energy. It's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah. But yeah. I like that.
Now we're just talking about Minecraft mods.
Should probably move on. I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah.
You know what I just remembered?
Hmm?
The fact that I have to have a fact of the week, but it's fine to have one.
Okay. Yeah. You probably know this little card game that by the name of Cards Against Humanity.
I am familiar with it, yes.
I recently found out that they are doing a lot of just stupid shit.
Like buying an island?
For example, maybe, yeah. They also dug a massive hole. No, tremendous hole, sorry. They raised like $100,000 for it and just dug a hole somewhere. Just because. Even saying, as long as money keeps coming in, we'll keep digging.
I mean, if you dig deep enough, it becomes like a scientifically relevant thing.
Kind of weird.
But it is kind of weird.
I think they were digging like wide enough, like more wide than actually deep.
That's the problem, right?
So yeah.
It's one of those things where it's kind of funny. I mean, also they did buy that island, though it's like a tiny island. I think it's like a river island or something. It's not even like a proper island in that sense. I think it was like just in like a very big river. It's just in the middle where it's frozen. I don't remember though. Might have also been on a lake or something, but I don't think it was like out in the ocean. But it was like on a lake or in the river or something. It was also like relatively small. As it pertains to the hole, is one of those things where, like, yeah, it's kind of funny that they're doing that, but also since it is pointless, it also seems kind of wasteful. I used to think that sort of stuff was like really funny, and I still see why it is. But I feel like now that we're all becoming more aware of like stuff like, you know, environmental impact of our actions, it's like, digging a hole, presumably, I assume, with, like, equipment, like, excavators and shit, that burn fuel just to dig a hole that you're then not gonna make use out of.
It's kind of stupid.
I mean, you could literally just plant trees for the same money and it would be a much more positive effect. Though, practically, it's probably just going to be eventually then deforested again to get some wood, but at least that's still a benefit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be that guy, right? But A, think of all the good you could have done with the money, and B, think of all the bad you have done with the money, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not to say that... I mean, I'd rather they do that than start, lobbying politicians to think that fossil fuels are good or something. So, in terms of things that corporations do with money, this is still on the more harmless side. But, I still can't help but feel a bit weird about it. Anything else you want to mention that they've done, or just the whole?
I mean, apparently they also live streamed the whole thing.
Okay.
The whole hole digging.
Hey, why didn't you say so, Sergej? It's all fine if it's content.
They explained that the hole is located in America and in our hearts, and that there's no deeper meaning or purpose to the hole.
I mean, that almost does sound like a modern art project, right? Like, the hole is both in America and in our hearts.
Somehow.
And then instead of saying there's no deeper meaning, it's just like, think about that. Well, I have a list of facts, and I'm going to pick one of the facts that I don't need to do any research on to explain it, and that I don't have to prep anything for. So, let's talk about a biology fact. I think it's one of the two facts I offered you up last time, actually. Because I did let you choose between two facts, and I think you picked the political one, the one about the... Yeah. And I think the other one was a biology fact. Have you heard of the concept of heritability?
Not exactly, but I kind of think I know what direction it might...
See, the problem is, so does everyone.
Take.
And so, I'm here to tell you that, in fact, wearing earrings is more heritable than having ears. And I kind of don't want to explain that, but I think I need to explain that.
Yeah, you definitely need to explain that. What the fuck?
Okay, so heritability as it is used in scientific terms, or I think specifically as it pertains to biology, is talking about how much impact genetics basically... How much impact the genetics that you inherit from your parents has on that trait. I'm not going to explain this very well, but I'm going to get this across enough, right? So, it has to do with variance, and how that is controlled by the genes effectively. So, because we basically are all, if we assume if we forget about the rare birth defects, we all have 2 ears, right? Like, we're born with 2 ears. So, having 2 ears isn't really a heritable trait, because we all have that trait, right? But something like, for example, a genetic disease will be considered a heritable trait, because your direct descendants influences it. Now, how does wearing earrings factor into this, I hear you say? Well, actually, you didn't say it, but I can read your mind.
I thought about it, yep.
So, turns out...
Get out of my head.
What is inherited is... Well, I was going to say your gender, but I think it would be more accurate to say your sex. Is directly caused by a gene of your parents. And so, because women tend to wear earrings more often, technically you could argue that because that is related to your genetics, then there's an argument there for heritability. I'm not explaining it well. The point is, it doesn't have to be directly
I kind of get it, I think.
So, because it's also used for statistical analysis, the heritability doesn't have to be directly caused by the genetics. The reason why I know this is because I saw an interesting video about the whole idea of heritability of IQ and how that links to race. I know, very heavy topic. The point being,
yeah,
genetic heritability makes it so that white people have a higher IQ. That is pretty much a fact. Now, that is not to say that non-white people are stupider than white people, but that non-white people perform worse on IQ tests than white people, and your skin color is heritable, and it effectively impacts your IQ. Why is that? Well, A, IQ tests are optimized for white people, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but like, just culturally, like, they're developed in predominantly white societies, and also, a lot of the studies that have been done on IQ were done in societies that had like very big issues with systemic racism. So if you have comparative IQ samples in, for example, segregated America, where, I mean, even these days, non-segregated America, where schools that are predominantly black children are significantly worse in terms of financing, and thereby also worse in terms of education, than predominantly white schools, people that go to predominantly black schools, as in predominantly black people, end up having a worse education, and that does impact how they perform on IQ scores, because some of the questions that are being asked are not just purely about computational power, but also about like cultural context and knowledge to some degree. And so, black people will perform worse, at least in the past, on IQ tests, not because they're dumber, but because their education is worse. And their education is worse because of racism, which is in turn caused, well, the racism is caused by the skin color, but the racism affects them differently because of the skin color. Thereby, black skin equals lower IQ, not because black people are stupider, but because societal circumstances make it harder for them to do well on IQ tests. And so, there is a heritable link in there, but it is not to say that they're inherently stupider.
Okay, that's fascinating. That went a completely different way than I thought it would.
And then the video where I saw that, which was Sean's video on the bell curve. I might, if I remember, I'll put a thing because it was actually a very good watch. Then he brought up the comparison with the earrings, and they're like, "That's a mindfuck." So I had to kind of bring that in. When I heard that, I was like, "That good. Has to be a fact of the week." And so that is that one. It's an older video, but
that's a really good one.
It's called The Bell Curve, by the way, because that is a book about IQ that also talks about racial factors in IQ as one of their topics. Turns out that actually they were using a lot of the statistics not from actual IQ tests, but from other tests that they said were somewhat analogous to IQ tests, and they just kind of remapped them to IQ. And the ironic bit is that the tests that they were using did not produce a bell curve distribution. So the book, The Bell Curve, is very heavily based on tests that don't actually produce a bell curve. Another fun fact from that video. I know I'm spoiling it, kind of, but there's still a lot in that video that is worth listening to. And that is very interesting.
I'll definitely watch it. That is one of those videos that I definitely watch.
So inheritance. I probably explained it poorly, but I feel like I got my point across in the end.
I think you did, yep.
You know what's fun, Sergej? Squirrel! Start Squirrel. Hey, look, I think it's slightly bigger. I think I put it at 110%. So, this is what it looked like before. I think they made it bigger themselves, though, as well, right? Because I feel like it just looked like this when we were recording.
I don't think so, no.
But yeah, now we're actually using it up most of the screen, which is my main point, right? So
that's good.
Because I feel like the keyboard being unnecessarily small isn't that anything. Do I just type at you? Because we always do that.
Yeah, obviously.
I still love that arrow over there, by the way. So, no eyes, which I think is a very good thing to know.
Kind of confused on the position of the E.
Well, because the point's here.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to be there.
I mean, I know it. Yeah.
I mean, technically, we could now test a word that has A. Oh, I think that's new, actually. Not the A. I think that's new, right? that if you go into hint menu, that's also blacked out there.
I think that's new. Yeah,
I want to say that used to not be the case.
I think it was. I think it was all blue before.
So we could try A here and then, E there, sort of a thing. Well, and A there, obviously. And just try another word that has like that constraint to double check where the A's and the E's go, but then also don't use the D, I, and U, at least on those positions. And maybe, if you want to be extra cool, use like a Y or an O somewhere in there just to double check if they're in there at all.
Okay.
Something like that, Is that how array is spelled with an A?
What even is that?
I was thinking array, but I realized it's spelled with an A.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
two
say,
double letters, which is not good.
I'm gonna say it is a verb that means to put things in an array, but I'm not 100% sure. To array.
I don't know.
No, that's bad because it doesn't have any. Though, no, actually it doesn't. I mean, we don't have to use a word with those constraints, but that's just kind of what I came up with for like what we have. Because there's also like.
Why didn't you want to use algae?
Because it didn't contain any. I would have preferably had a word that contains at least one Y or O. Because those are letters that would be really useful to know if they're blacked out. Because vowels.
Yeah.
I mean, we could use algae. Also, the second A. I mean, we did have double A's in words before. That's not unheard of. But it doesn't check for any clues either, so it's not like there's a specific reason for doing it. I mean, we can do algae if you want, because I'm also like not immediately coming up with another word with the A's and the E's in those spots, besides the possibly word or not array, and then algae.
Yeah.
Argue? Wait, how do you argue? No, that doesn't work. Also, it has a U and an O, so it doesn't even help. A new doesn't work anyways. It's weird because it seems like EY would be a relatively common ending for words, but also hard to actually come up with any when you actually need them. Okay, how about this? We just try to see if array is a word, because I'm actually kind of curious right now.
Sure, let's try that.
Fair enough.
Okay. Actually, kind of like argue.
I mean, it doesn't check the specific E's, but we can do it. It does cover some new ground for sure.
But yeah.
Actually, it kind of almost checks the E's, because if then if one of those E's says like, oh yeah, this row column, it's kind of a good hint of like, it's probably right where I put the hint. Well,
I think we know the locations of the E's.
Do we? Because I certainly don't.
You don't?
I think
they're in the second to last position.
Oh, you mean as in like there has to be an E, right? There has to be an E here and here by necessity because of those not being E's, right? Okay, never mind. I was being an idiot. And those are obviously not A's. Okay. We have some E's that are definitively there. Because they... Wait, do they actually have to be definitively there? They don't have to definitively be there, they're just likely there. Because they could still have, for example, one here. Oh no, wait, it can't be in that row.
Can they?
No, never mind, I'm just being an idiot.
Okay.
I think you're more intuitive about these than I am. So like sometimes it takes me a second to realize what you've already seen.
Okay. Fair.
I might, at the end of the day, have a larger vocabulary though, so I'm actually useful.
Yeah. You definitely have that.
Okay, let's see. We have the E's. The words might start with an A. Which would put us in the exact position as before. With, second to last E, first one A. Both of them have an A pointing at them, as well as they kind of have two A's pointing at them, if you will. As a matter of fact, this hint is kind of useless, since it's kind of redundant now.
Not entirely useless. Tells us that the A is not in the first position.
Oh, right, it does. A could be the first letter. R could be the first letter of the column one, technically. So it could technically be like something like this. I'm not 100% sure that's a word, but to rue is to regret. So
well, let's try that. Yeah.
Someone a ruse is in like they add regret, like they accrue regret. I'm starting to suspect it's not a word, but it could be. I would definitely like to at least have an R maybe in. Maybe have an R there, because if it's not R, then we know that there's an R right here, which is still very useful.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that again, if we also then want to use the E, then that brings us once again in the position where we don't know. I mean, obviously we do know that there's no R right down here, which is unfortunate. But we still technically don't know if there's one anywhere in the row, so it still gives us information.
Yeah.
The problem is, the first word that came to mind that actually does kind of work is ardent, but it's kind of like, one too many letters. I can't come up with a word that would be AR something, E something. Ardent, argent. I mean, we don't have to use this either, that was just an idea.
I would rather discard the R instead of the E.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps the A, too.
I mean, the A seems like a good idea, but it doesn't have to be. The R straight up doesn't help if we're looking for the one in the row. It would just help for the column. Because we definitely know it's not in the row. So... I mean, if the only letter that we're really like attached to is the E, then it's probably a word that ends in EY, ES, or ED. Or EN, as kind of like the obvious ones. It's not to say that they're the only possibilities, but like just, basically what I'm saying is, pick a verb. Pick an adjective, pick a plural noun, just he goes. Goes. That's too short. Does is also short, then he. I was gonna say goes, but I actually does. Wait. I swear to God, if I'm writing something very literally, very literary, I can use that word.
Try it.
Like long ago, many ago's ago.
Wait, can we replace the G with something?
What? Oh, we can't G.
Can we?
Use G. Actually, I just.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't. And the problem is, I find it very hard for some reason to put the E exactly there.
Mm-hmm. It's either in the 3rd or 5th position for me.
Yeah, great.
Like
rated.
That's actually pretty good.
And we could also
it still
rates.
Checks if the R.
Actually, counterpoint. Rates, as in he rates, or as in credit rates, because we haven't checked S at all yet. Might give us more information.
Yeah, fair. Well, let's go with that. I like that very much.
Is it dated?
Okay.
Because...
Could be.
The word is just 8. That's the word. We're done, we found it. Oh, no. That's an R. Because this hint says there has to be an R there. So it's like, I was gonna say waiter, that's not a word. A dater is someone who dates. Rater, someone who rates. Wait, it can't be a rater. Fater, someone who makes fate. Hater, someone who hates.
How about water?
Water. Oh, I said waiter, not even thinking about the fact that water is totally a word. Because, again, right, like, date, rate, hate, water.
Yep.
Phonetic inconsistency. The English language is... Sorry, just had to get that off my chest.
But I can't imagine a word ending in W.
What?
Can't come up with any word ending with W.
Like any word or any word that fits?
Any word that fits. Like, actually, any word in general. Okay, fair enough.
New. There's also skew. Which doesn't fit, but askew would fit. As in, like, something that has been skewered.
Yeah.
It's askew. I mean, it doesn't fit with the hints, but it would fit. Renew has the same problem where the E just can't go there. And the R can't go there. But technically, that also, I mean, it doesn't fit and we can't use G, but, words that in the W do exist, for sure.
Okay, fair.
Raw as well. Claw. Straw.
Warren for the R.
Oh, it doesn't not
That's
work for the R.
pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, straw. Oh no, that's also too short again. For some reason, sometimes a word comes to mind. They're like, "Oh, it rhymes with the word that I tried, so it must work." And it's like, well, actually, it's shorter.
Mm-hmm.
Flaw, claw, straw, raw, maw. Law. The thing is, to declaw is totally a word. You declaw a cat, right? I mean, you shouldn't, but you could. But it's like too long.
Yeah, but no,
like you don't demaw anything. That's also too short. Why am I being an idiot? Any complaints about bylaw?
What even is that?
That's an interesting question. I think it's like, sometimes when they found like, I think when they found organizations that have like the founding bylaws, I think that's, I'm pretty sure it's a thing. The question is, does it
Try
fit?
it. Don't see a reason why not.
Me neither. See, it's a word. I told you, it's a word. And also, yes, you were right. It's water, not hater. But hey, But hey, we got some letters. Okay, which one do we want to try? We kind of have an L and a U for both of them, so I don't necessarily know what to go with. I guess at that point we can kind of go with something that fits in either, because both also cannot start with an A, for example, and can't have an R as their second letter, so we kind of already.
Was about to say ultra, but that doesn't fit.
So, of course, it doesn't work because we can't have a T in the middle, but otherwise I think it looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Also, no A at the end, even for the row. Generally, in the whole word.
Yeah.
Also, no R.
No R in the row. There could be one in the.
These are fine.
Oh no, there can't be one either. Yeah, anywhere. Yeah, but UL as a start is definitely intriguing because it definitely works. But then the question is, how would we work that? Wait, Oh no, wait, no S's. No S's. That kind of is a revelation we had a second ago and I didn't even look at. But yeah, no S's. That's big time. Clued. He was clued in. Let's see. I mean, obviously,
I think that works.
Obviously, water, but for the row, C, we don't know anything about C. We don't know anything. Oh, no, we do know about L. Just we know that actually, as much as we know, L and U have to be in there, just not in those other spots. Actually, E doesn't work for the row or the column. Fuck. There's an E right here and one right there. So that's actually bad.
Lump.
Sure. I mean, it uses, 3 letters that we have never used before in this, so it's bound to give us some information. for example, that the U was correct right there.
Yep.
I think I know what the word is. I mean, we can go for water right now if we want to, but we could also just go with another word that ends in ER. But I think I know what the first column word is. I think it's macaw, as in the bird. M-A-C-A-W. It's a bird. It's like a parrot type thing.
Could be.
Okay, how about we come up with a word that ends in ER, and also,
sure,
does work possibly in the column. Because then, we always get the bonus guess for water, even if we type in some, because that was also the rules. If you finish a row or column, you get a bonus guess, independently of whether it was the word that you guessed that filled it. So we can guess the column and still get the row right at the same time.
I mean, obviously.
And of course, the word in the row very much in the column is very much is not water, because it can't have an A or a W or a T.
Yep.
The fact that it can't have an A is actually kind of annoying, but I was gonna say leader, but that doesn't work because of the T.
By the way, we actually, thanks for mentioning that, we actually know where the A is in the first row. It's in the second position.
Oh. Wait, in the first row, it has to be in the second position, because there can't be one here, there, there has to be one here, and there has to be one there as well, but I already knew that. Because this one and this one, right, there has to be one in the row, but it can't be here or
true.
there.
Yep.
So it has to be there. And again, I'm pretty sure the only word I can come up with that this would work with is macaw. So this is very likely an M. But that is technically just a guess.
Mm-hmm.
Also no Y's.
Oh, and we know the L is in the second to last position in the central column?
Right, yes. So it's saying something like Colt. Well, it's not Colt because it can't start with a C and it has to be 5 letters, but like something like that.
Okay, what else do we know for sure?
Well, I mean, there's a 50-50 chance that this is an L. This is an L. I mean, it could be this, again, it's not guaranteed, but it's very likely an L. Especially with lur being a relatively reasonable ending. Wait, actually, yeah, no, right, you gave that one.
Okay, if A is in the second position of the first column, then R needs to be in the second position of the last column.
Second position of the... There? Oh, because R can't be there. Yeah, right. Huh. And I said there's a chance that there's an L there. In which case you have something with Erler. I mean, again, it doesn't have to be. But that's interesting, right?
It is. There's also non-zero chance that the word starts with a B.
Well, it certainly isn't B-R-L-E-R. I'm pretty sure it's not Brrler. So there has to be something. Actually, that's interesting. Because if it does start with a B, not to throw your idea under the bus, but if it does start with a B, we'd have to have something that makes it sound like a word still. So there has to probably be something here that can form a unit with the E. Because if it was another consonant, it'd be something like burler, burmer, like brr. Because B only works if followed by a vowel, I would argue. And that means, well, double E doesn't work. UE doesn't work, which would normally work, but doesn't. YE can't work. So it would have to almost be an I, right? Briar. So if the first one is an A, the middle one would have to be an I, like just, I think, linguistically, just how the words are built in English. Unless I'm missing something.
Yeah.
Which isn't Briar. I mean, I know Briar with an A, but I don't know Briar with an E, so I'm not saying it's definitely not a word, but actually, do you want to just try that? Briar?
Yeah, sure.
If it's not
that's...
Okay, it's a word. Apparently.
Wait, did we knew that I is not in there, right?
No, that's the first time we tried. Oh no, wait, we right. But I's on the puzzle. Sorry, I should look. See, the thing is, I black out all of the black hints so that it's not too much, but then I should also look at the actual keyboard. So, but that kind of still supports what I said earlier, though, because of how, like, there can't really be a B here, unless that was the case, and if that is not the case, then the B does not go there, which now we also know. The B also can't be there, and it can't be there because we already have one there. Do we just want to try macaw right now, or do we... Because there's no other way we're gonna get the A in there anyways. Oh wait, we could try something that starts with M, A, but it isn't macaw, because we already have the other letters. But that's going to be kind of tricky, and there would have to be a B in there, either as the second to last or as the third letter, as a third or fourth letter.
Doesn't work. No A in the second. In the last position.
Yep. Good catch. Though the M actually does work specifically works because of the hint, as in there has to be an M either here or there.
Which is quite interesting.
Yes, I just thought the same thing. So double A is certainly possible, because we haven't tried double A yet, so knowing that there's only one A... Also, we don't know that there's only one A, that's what I'm saying. Because as we found it last time, of course, if you read the rules correctly, you'll find that the single arrow only means it's in there exactly once if you tried it with more than one.
Can come up with anything. Not just something that fits, but like anything at all.
Wait, you saying you can't come up with any word that starts with MA because we do have some.
No, any 5-letter word.
Like, at all. You can't come up with a 5-letter word.
That starts with an MA. Yeah.
Mamba, like the snake, or macaw, like the bird.
Apart from the ones that you already mentioned.
Manes, like of lions. Maims. Is that how you spell that? To maim someone? As in to disfigure them? He maims?
Okay. I did not know the word. So, I learned something new.
As a matter of fact, with the same idea, right, we could go malls. I mean, obviously there can't be a U there, but It fits. Also, we can't have S's or an L there. Like, this is completely stupid as a guess for this, but it's a word. Which also probably ends with someone disfigured. But this doesn't have to necessarily. Mares, as in female horses. Again, it doesn't fit, but words do exist.
Okay, yeah. Do you have anything that has a B in it?
Well, I had Mamba. Well, I also have Mambo. Hey! Haha! A little bit of Monica by my side, a little bit of Erica on my right. Mama number 5?
I don't see a reason why it wouldn't work. Let's try that.
Was there an argument about... No, there wasn't. Mambo! Hey, it was Mambo! It was Mambo! And we got Macaw in the same guess. God. Which was a twofer. We got 2 bonus guesses from 1 entry. Has that ever been done before?
That's nice.
It probably has when you just have 1 letter missing.
Probably.
But we did it with 2 letters missing on one of the words. I feel like this is like something really cool. See, sometimes you just have to know your dances. Okay, you want to quickly look into some new hints that we've gotten? Or see if there are any new hints that we've gotten? Like,
I don't think we have any new hints.
L has to go either there or there, we knew that. B, well, yeah, that's not even a new hint. It's the bottom right corner ones. Like how there's, well, an M in Mopal, yeah. Great job. Well, I mean, I guess we already knew there was no M in this row. So. I guess we go for the column first, right? Because we might as well.
Yeah, sure.
Unless we can do a 2-for-1, but, or something, but that seems rather unlikely right now. As a matter of fact, technically there's nothing speaking against it being an L right here. So, technically, we could maybe get a word that solves both. That is, assuming that this letter is also the same. Which there's no reason to assume that. And to assume that there's an L definitely here. Which, again, there's no reason to necessarily assume that. But, oh dude, imagine winning with 8 guesses remaining. That seems... I mean, I haven't previously checked how many guesses we had remaining, but that seems good.
I don't think we can. We can at most have 7 remaining.
I mean, yeah, that's what I said. Like, if we typed in something right now that solves the entire puzzle, we'd have 8 remaining.
We'd have 7 remaining.
Oh!
Because we still use 1 guess.
We still use 1, yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's see. You know what? Let's start with trying to figure out what the column word is, and then we can see if we can still also put a valid guess in for the row word. Because this letter right there has to be one of a very small selection, right? Because we know it can't be M, it can't be R or A. It actually could be A, right? Technically. No, it can't be.
It cannot be A. Yep.
It could not be A. Could not be M. Okay, no, let's do it this way. Q.
Could you maybe like cancel the thanks.
I somehow knew what you were going to say. So it could be W. It could be Q. It can't be E, which seems relevant. Can't be... Actually, it could technically be... No, it can't be R, which doesn't seem that relevant. It could be T, I guess, but that seems weird. It can't be Y. I think it could technically be U, but I also, again, don't see how that would be the case. It can't be I.
I feel like it's an O, but I don't know.
Should be O. It can't be P. It can't be A. It can't be S. It shouldn't be D. Okay, let's just see. It shouldn't be D. It shouldn't be F. It can't be G. It should probably not be H. It should probably not be J. It should not be K. Or L, or Z, or X, or C, or V, or B, or N. I mean, O seems like the only one that would make sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Molt. Is that what bugs do? No, it's just molting without a U, right? Well, a mold. Wait, a mold is like a gap. So is it molt when you mold? No, to mold is also a verb though. I don't know. Oh, wait, is it something was mold? That would be molded. I don't know.
No idea.
So I guess the question is, can we find a word? Could we find a word that fits all of our criteria? An order is a word! Sergej! I think we have it. Hey!
Yes! Okay, nice.
We did the thing that I said might be possible under some very specific circumstances.
Nice. I want to know what mold is, though. Let me Google that.
That's fair enough. Oh. We did a thing. I look even tinier if I do this up, because the halftime show window is actually kind of built from me leaning back.
Okay, in biology, molting or molting, also known as sloughing or shedding, or in many invertebrate. Yeah.
See, I said I knew that molting is a thing that bugs do. I just thought it was spelled without the U.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out, it's spelled with a U.
It can be spelled without and with a U.
Do we have the Brits to blame again?
Yes. Yes, we have.
Grammarist says different spellings of the same word. Yep. That does look very much like outside of the US. It's yep. I love how it says how according to Grammarist, MOLT is the US spelling. MOULT is used outside of North America, and Canadians, of course, use both. It didn't say of course, but it's such a Canadian thing, right? Because I feel like, I don't know if there's like an official standardized Canadian spelling, and I feel like Canadians like do sometimes just switch between using British spelling for some words and then American spelling for others. I feel like they're just very inconsistent.
Yeah, because what not? Because why not?
And I think some words, especially more rarely used ones, they just use them interchangeably. Apparently, Canadian children grow up saying Z and then actually learn to say Z because Canadians are pretentious.
Okay.
From what I've heard, that is a real linguistic fact. Because the alphabet song, right, goes like X, Y, and Z, and so they learn it as Z because of the alphabet song. But then because Canadians generally do say Z, you know, like the British, Eventually, while growing up, they realize that people will say Z and will eventually adapt to saying Z.
Interesting.
I have no stats to verify that, but I've heard a linguist tell it as an anecdote once, so I think it was actually a Canadian linguist who said it like anecdotally in their experience. That's how people do it, so I don't know if there's any like formal studies on that, but apparently very young children in Canada will say Z, and then once they get a bit older, they'll say Z. Because Canada's weird. Like, Canada is a really weird place in a lot of ways. One of which being that they're a lot like the US, but they also insist that they're very different from the US. Which also makes them oftentimes focus on some of the, like, very arbitrary and small differences. Just to show how different they are. Like, how they have Tim Hortons and they say Z. You know, and it's just...
I know quite a lot of Canadians. I will ask them this.
Speaking of asking things, how about closed-ended questions courtesy of ConversationCentersWorld.com? Today, we're doing closed-ended questions starting with number 47. What is your favorite type of international food? Mm-hmm. And what do they mean by international?
What counts as international food? Yeah.
I think the implication is from outside of your own country. In which case, first of all...
Like, which country am I from? Like, what would...
I feel like...
what would qualify here?
Given that your parents are Russian, and you've thereby had a lot of contact with Russian food, I don't think Russian food should count as international for your purposes, but also given that you've grown up in Germany, I don't think German food should count either.
Fair. I'm gonna go with pizza.
I was gonna say, like, pizza, right?
Pizza is good.
It's the problem is, right, unless you're from Italy, I feel like a lot of people will say pizza. Because it's just... and... So, I mean, that's how I interpret it internationally.
I mean, if not pizza, I'd take kebab, but I'm not sure if it counts as German or not.
I don't know.
Kind of weird.
I mean, I guess you could interpret the question another way, which is, what is your favorite food that exists in a lot of countries? As in, it's very internationally widespread, in which case it's probably still pizza.
Yeah. 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 I'd still go with pizza.
Interesting. Should people be able to sell their organs?
I guess. Maybe.
I don't
if they have like really good reasons to.
So, obviously, there's only so much of your organs you could reasonably sell while you're still alive. But there have been people that sold their dead bodies to museums. As in, like, once I die, you may put me in your museum.
Oh, okay.
Which, you know, I mean, from a moral standpoint, of course, the answer is technically organ donations are better, right, than just selling them. But some people will also be against their organs being donated because they like want to be buried whole for some reason or something. So at that point, before you decide to do something like that, selling them to someone who might be actually able to have use out of them, which seems unlikely, would make sense. But again, you have to like die in one of a few very specific ways to even be able to donate organs in the first place. So
yeah,
because you need to be found very quickly after your death, so that your organs are still viable. I guess the more important question is like, should you be able to sell a kidney, right? Because you don't need both kidneys to live. And again, just from a bodily autonomy and personal liberty standpoint, I don't see why you shouldn't be able to, but it still seems kind of weird to do. Now, that is, of course, it's noteworthy that cases where people have done it have usually ended with severe medical problems, because whenever you sell your organs, it's usually done in a bit more of a shady way than just, going to, transplanting it to someone as a donation, where you go to a regular hospital and they take utmost care and everything. So
yeah,
I wouldn't recommend it, but technically I don't see a reason why people should not be allowed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you good at fixing things around the house?
Depends on what it is that's broken. If it's computers, yeah. If it's pretty much anything else? Probably not.
I was about to say, like, really depends. So what counts as around the house? Do we just count, like, furniture and, like, stuff like that? Because, you know what, something that's around my house?
Like sinks or something?
My headphones. They broke. I put tape on them. I actually technically put tape in them. And they now hold together again. So, like...
Nice.
So, yeah, the reason why I showed you that one is because there was a crease in there, and there's supposed to just be a closed seam. There's supposed to, like, not be a visible seam. Should probably show it this way around. It's just closed, and then the other one is, like, a little bit popped open, but because I shoved some tape in there, it actually still holds. It doesn't fall apart. It just doesn't close all the way anymore because there's tape in there and it pushes it out a bit. But so
yeah,
very minimal ways I can fix things. Like, you know, if it can be fixed with tape, I could probably fix it. I can also fix, like, a lot of technical problems, more so software than hardware. But, like, you know,
yeah. I mean, you can't really do much if hardware actually fails.
Well, I guess the best way for, like, computer hardware would just be to diagnostic, see if you can isolate which component caused it, and then just replace it.
Yeah.
That I could probably do. But, you know, I'm not going to be the guy to, like, solder on a capacitor or something. Which, I mean, modern day electronics, you can oftentimes not do it anyways because... Or, like, very difficult because they're, like, very small. And, like...
Yeah.
But, yeah, generally speaking, I'm not...
You'd actually have to get, like, specialized tools for that.
I wouldn't be necessarily the go-to guy for fixing things. I'm also not very practically oriented, as in, like... That's not a good way. I'm not very good with, like, physical things oftentimes, like practical physical things. Like, I can solve theoretical problems a lot better than I can practical ones.
Yeah.
Like, I'm probably not going to be able to repair your
relatable
table, but I can probably fix your math equation. Sergej, do you own a car?
No.
Technically, no. I mean, yeah, I own a car, okay. Jesus. I guess there's no reason to elaborate, yeah. Do you volunteer at a charity?
I don't think so, but, like, does open source code count? Like, at least somewhat?
I would tempt to say no, because I find that charity is somewhat thinly defined. You can't just be like, anything that helps people is charitable work. That seems a bit... Or, like, if I help you out personally with something, it's also not charitable. Even if it is still very helpful.
But you're helping, like, one specific person.
I get that you are helping, like, a broader community of people.
Yeah.
It still doesn't feel like it should count as charity. I don't know why, but it doesn't feel like it should. That is, I mean, it comes down to, like...
So, yeah, no.
Altruistically helping people at large. Like, okay, you know, let's see. Define... We haven't done this in a while. Well, I mean, we have for, like, Wordle, but we haven't done this for, like, answering, like, philosophical questions by Googling a definition. We haven't done that in a while. Provision of help or relief to the poor. Something given to help the needy. An institution, organization, or fund established to help the needy. Benevolence or generosity towards others or towards humanity. Okay, that would, I guess, generosity, benevolence towards... That would work.
That would kind of work.
Indulgence or forbearance in judging others. Synonym mercy. That's... Oh, yeah, that's a different type of charity. The theological virtue defined as love directed that towards God, but also toward oneself and one's neighbor. Oh, Jesus Christ. A theological virtue defined as love, directed first toward God, but also toward oneself and one's neighbors, as objects of God's love. So if you love God, first and foremost, you're also being charitable. I guess.
Yeah.
That is a shitty definition, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's another religious one. In a general sense, the good affections men ought to feel toward one another goodwill. That's a stretch. benevolence, liberty in relieving the want of others, philanthropy. So yeah, I mean, like in one of the definitions, you would definitely fall under that, but in most definitions, it goes specifically to the poor and
kind
needy.
of sketchy, yeah.
So that is why
that is no.
It probably doesn't count. I guess if you were developing a service that specifically helps poor people, then that might count.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's necessarily. I'm not saying that devalues what you do, but like, it doesn't technically fall under the definition of charity, I would argue.
I
volunteer
get
at charity? No, I do not. I mean, also volunteering, I think, has a bit of the idea that, I was gonna say you work on someone else's time, like, if you work like a soup kitchen or like a homeless shelter or something, you would volunteer for a certain time, where if you're sitting at home running code, you're just kind of doing it whenever. I mean, I guess people do sometimes show on a whim for volunteering gigs, but oftentimes it's somewhat more organized.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily saying that it has. I think that's kind of part of the whole volunteering aspect, maybe to some degree as well. I have not volunteered for a charity, at least not that I would know. It's possible that I've like done it as a child somewhere, like I was roped into something, but like I don't think I've ever volunteered for a charity. I have in some cases donated money.
Yeah.
But also generally not a lot. But I've never directly volunteered.
Same.
Let's do one more. And
do you prefer the woods or the beach?
Well, I would say the woods, but I technically don't really feel in a position to answer that question because I've never been to a beach. Well...
Okay, that's kind of unfortunate.
I've been to the edge of a lake before. Like a relatively large one. And I think it might have been sandy actually, but yeah, no, I mean, still, right? Like,
define beach.
I think lake beaches would count. I think it just has to be sandy.
A shore of a body of water, especially when sandy or pebbly.
Yeah, I said gravelly, you said pebbly. I think, right, gravel is usually a bit spikier than pebbles. Yeah, fair enough. I might have been on like a sea beach or something, but I've never been like at like the ocean. Sea beach. Is it like a lake beach or something? I've never been to the ocean. I don't remember. I don't specifically remember having been at a beach. It doesn't appeal to me either, because sand is coarse and it's rough and it gets everywhere.
I have been at a beach. Wasn't sandy, which was kind of unfortunate. I would have preferred a sandy beach.
I mean, yeah, gravel isn't really better, or pebbles isn't really better either.
Yeah. But yeah, I do prefer woods quite a lot better.
I feel like if I want to go into water, and I mean, I haven't been in the ocean, so like I don't know about salt water. It's supposed to be more buoyant, but
it actually is quite a bit.
If I want to go to water, I can also just like go to the local swimming pool, right? I don't.
That's perfectly fine.
The beach doesn't appeal to me as a concept.
Say even better.
Again, I might want to like swim in the ocean at one point. That sounds like a cool thing to do, especially because again the physics are slightly different. But fundamentally, it doesn't necessarily draw me there, and like I kind of like the woods. One problem being that I'm allergic to some types of trees. I mean specifically when they're in bloom, which is like a part of spring, but just say including right now, which isn't the funnest thing, but like I'm doing fine. Like, I was walking through the woods on Tuesday, I think. And, like, I had to sneeze a bit, but it was fine. And, like, the thing is, while I don't have a lot of beach experience, what I do have a lot of experience is with the woods. Because if I point that way, then there's, like, a forest in, I don't know, 20 meters or something. And if I point that way, it's still less than a kilometer, right? And that way is probably also only like 100 meters or so before you start getting into woods. So, like, that way is the only way that's like actual, like, more broader civilization. like I'm basically living in the woods, not in the sense that people think of when I say living in the woods, but our street is basically surrounded by the woods. Like in both directions, there's like a parallel road, though actually in this direction it's also already over. It starts a bit further down, but there's parallel roads.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still like a couple trees in between the roads, and then more trees on the other side of the road. And I think if you go that way, it's just footpaths. The actual road already ended, and that way the road is like very close to ending, and that way again the end of the road is also pretty close. So like woods everywhere, and I sometimes go
just pretty cool. I like that.
I sometimes go for walks in the woods, usually with my parents or something, and it's fun. Like sometimes like me and my mother will just like it's like good weather in the afternoon. We don't have anything to do. We'll just like go take a walk in the woods for like 2 or 3 hours, and it's fun. So I like the woods. I mean, the only thing I do there is walk around, but still. Also, I mean, I could talk about the whole, like, the woods are good for the environment, whereas beaches don't really add anything.
Okay, that's fair. I didn't even think of that.
I mean, that doesn't affect my personal liking of either one of them. Also, while the beach doesn't add anything, the sea does, because algae is a lot better at processing CO2 than trees are. So, people are always worried about planting trees, and there's certainly an element there where it's important, but trees are not the most important plant on our planet as it pertains to CO2. They're just not.
Okay.
Though there's a problem with the rainforest where if that gets warmer, that's a whole issue in and of itself, because if it gets warmer, then the trees start dying and more forest fires, and that releases more CO2, and it's one of the many places in the world that if it gets slightly hotter, will start accelerating climate change. Permafrost in Russia, the rainforest, I mean mostly in Russia, I think it's also in other places, but Russia being like pretty much like all of North Asia, kind of, I think it was a lot of it in there. It's probably some in like Antarctica and like North America as well, I don't know. But like, yeah, there's a lot of places where also the Arctic ice caps, like if they start melting, then like more heat gets in the water, I think, and that thereby stays on the planet longer than if it gets reflected directly off of the ice. So, or something like that. I don't remember the exact details.
A bunch of things.
There's like a bunch of things that if it gets warmer, that will either release CO2 or like trap the heat more, and then will accelerate the warming. So like, yeah, let's try maybe preventing climate change. That's not what we were talking about, but I thought that was an important thing to mention.
Quite interesting how we got from preferring woods or beaches to climate change.
Well, I mean, because I brought up that woods do CO2 better than beaches.
Yeah.
Sergej, do you know what time it is?
Oh, right. I kind of forgot about that.
Song of the week time!
So my song of the week, I don't think it's a song, it's just music, is Freedom by 12 Girls Band.
I'm not sure I'm still allowed to say this, but I would say it sounds Oriental.
I've
heard people say that Oriental territory.
I don't actually know what Oriental actually means.
I mean, I think literally just means Eastern, but
okay.
I was thinking it sounds like sort of Middle Eastern, like the Middle East or the what are they called? Fucking hell, like Turkey, Middle East, like that sort of area, like maybe South Asia, North Africa, like that whole region of the world, where brown people are. That is definitely racist. See, now I did it.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean that's
what a cool piece of music. I like the tunes.
I mean, I feel like it's something that like you would see, like in the same kind of movie that you would see like a snake charmer, or like someone with a turban. You know, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm not sure if I'm starting to get worse or better with my racial stereotyping, but you know, again, North Africa, Middle East, South Asia, sort of Southeastern Europe. That's sort of the vibe I'm getting from this. Also, that part of the world really fucks me up sometimes because, like, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, what continent is this country on?" It's like, well, it's in the Middle East. I don't know what continent it is. Like, it's like right in between those three continents.
Yeah.
And then, like, sometimes you'll have something where it's like, oh, it sounds like it could be Middle Eastern. It's like, oh, no, it's actually, you know, like in North Africa. It's like, well, okay, but like, Egypt is Arab, right? And the Middle East is mostly Arab. So, like, And then it's like, oh, yeah, like, like Southeastern Asia, right? Like, sort of like Pakistan. And, like, it's like, that is not that different from the Middle East. Like, there's predominantly Muslim. I don't know if they're technically Arabs, but, like, you know, it's a very similar thing. And then, again, right, like, Turkey. Also kind of in that vein. Anyways.
Yep.
I feel like I'm just digging my hole deeper. I feel like I'm one of those... you know when you see, like, a movie, and, like, someone says something stupid, and when they're trying to backpedal, like, just dig a deeper hole, and you're just think, just shut up. Just don't keep talking, you're just making it worse. And they just keep
stop.
talking, and they're making it worse. That's what I feel like right now. So... on a completely unrelated note, my song of the week is Crazy by Gnarls Barkley.
Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. And I hope that you will have the time of your life.
Nice.
Yeah.
Definitely remember that one.
Yeah, I mean, I just skipped very quickly. Did you want to say anything else about yours? Because I kind of just skipped over that, but...
no,
didn't
not
seem like I
really.
had anything to say. Yeah, I mean, this one... It's one of the songs that I haven't heard a lot recently. And then, you know, I heard it again, and I was like, yeah, that one exists. And, you know, now it's my song of the week. Deep, right?
Nice.
On a slightly less deep note, this is not so deep at all, right? If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't like it, don't like it. If you disliked it, dislike it, I guess. I don't know. If you want to see more of these types of videos and you're not already subscribed, maybe you should do so. If you want to hear more of us, you can also subscribe to the main channel, where the Minecraft video is, and also to Sergej's channel, where his Minecraft video will be. And you can also join the Discord server to talk to us.
Sometime in the future.
And you can leave a comment if you have a comment about this video. I told you it's not that deep. It's okay.
It's very self-explanatory. Also, that's it.
That's it.